Okay, so welcome. I am Jocelyn Morning with the Family Conservancy, and here shortly you will get to hear from our President and CEO, Paula Neff, and our Marketing Communications Manager, Scott Hansen. So for just some quick housekeeping, we are recording this session. We'll be sharing with all of our supporters afterward. We will have asked you to keep yourselves muted throughout the presentation, but we do invite and encourage if you will right now chat any greetings, let us know who's here. So go ahead and use that chat function as often as you'd like. So in your meeting controls, if you click chat, you should be able to let us know that you're here. Greetings to the other folks in the virtual room. And then additionally, as we go through the presentation, we'd love to just hear your comments, thoughts. Please ask questions as we go. So again, you can place all those questions into the chat as those thoughts arise. So we'll save some time at the end to address those questions. And now please welcome TFC President and CEO.
Thanks so much, Jocelyn, and welcome everyone. We are so glad that you were able to join us this afternoon. And perhaps you're just ending your workday or you're getting ready to head out for your evening plans. So we hope that this is a great way to feel uplifted and encouraged about what your support has made possible. We know that we haven't really had a chance to see all of you for a long time, so we're excited to bring some of our work to life for you virtually today. Each year, your generosity enables children to reap the rewards of high-quality early education and helps families become nurturing, stable presence their children need. In simple terms, you are helping us create environments that reinforce optimal child development. You're building healthy brains. And while the purpose of today's call is to illustrate our impact of your generous support, we'd like to first give you a quick overview of our Theory of Change document. I'm excited to share with you that it articulates how we believe change will happen. And as a result, how we plan to invest our time and resources to contribute to that change. So as we were approaching our 140th anniversary year in 2020, we also spent some time looking back at our rich history. But more importantly, we also started looking to our future to ensure that we continue to fulfill our role in helping Kansas City children and families thrive for the next 140 years. So we started developing our agency theory of change in late 2019. And to get us started, we began by determining, what does a Family Conservancy do better than anyone else? And with our agency's varied expertise, from working alongside childcare programs and early educators to build a more robust and equitable childcare sector, to our understanding of early childhood mental health and the impact of trauma, and to our intimate knowledge of what parents and caregivers need to be successful, we feel that TFC is uniquely positioned to help children take the full advantage of the unprecedented developmental period that occurs in the first 5 years. So once we determined what it would look like to have that impact and how we could create real societal change, which is creating equitable opportunities for all children and families, we were really ready to put this into practice. So I'm going to turn things back to Jocelyn, who's going to share how we'll use this tool to measure our social change.
Thank you, Paula. So to gain more clarity of this impact, we saw the need to focus on building our capacity to track and analyze data across all of our program areas. Not only was this in order to demonstrate and share our mission impact, but also to ensure that we're implementing the right programs. We want to create that equitable opportunity for every child in Kansas City. And we want to make sure that our programs are relevant, they're evidence-based, and that they're meeting the diverse and changing needs of the children and families that we serve. And another key reason this was the perfect time to implement this measurement was that we know there's not a one-size-fits-all solution to helping families achieve their goals. It's important to us and to our mission that we listen to those that we serve, and we want to create these equitable opportunities with and not for our families. And so early in 2020, we were very excited to create the new role of Director in Impact and Strategy. And even more excited when we found the perfect candidate was our very own Casey Thomas, who had been exploring our outcomes and work via our grant applications for almost a decade. And so while I know this next screen is going to be tiny and it's far too much data to get into today, I want to share this of Casey's work as an example of what we'll be able to report back to you in the upcoming year. We'll be able to tell you how effective our work is in each of those impact areas that you just saw, and we'll be able to share back our collective impact made possible by your support. And as Casey will tell you, these gauges are not unlike those on our car's dashboard. They can tell us when all systems are go and when things are working as intended. And conversely, when something may need a tune-up or we may need to pop the hood and take a closer look. So while, of course, all of our work has looked a little or sometimes quite a bit different during the pandemic, we haven't let up on the gas once. And all of our staff have been just ever committed to positive change for those that we serve. So with that, I will pass this over to TFC's Marketing Communications Manager, Scott Hansen, to bring some of this work to life on behalf of our program staff and clients.
Thanks, Jocelyn. In the first quarter of each year, we publish the number of individuals who were impacted by your generosity. We're proud to report that in 2020, despite a pandemic, your investment in TFC allowed 82,922 individuals to receive life-changing services. As seen in our theory of change, our work falls under three strategies: improving early education, empowering families to focus on the future, and creating resilient communities. With a shift to a data-driven change model, we're now reporting your impact as it relates to these strategies. Our first strategy focuses on improving the early education sector. In 2020, 68,108 children were prepared for a successful transition to kindergarten. This was primarily accomplished by providing training and coaching to 8,530 teachers, helping them to make the most of the time they spend with children by supporting child development. As you probably know, especially if you've been following us over the past year, the pandemic has been incredibly challenging for providers. Where in a normal year, we would be focusing on strengthening and improving the early education sector. In 2020, we also had to focus on preserving the critical childcare infrastructure the children, families, and employers so desperately rely on. In addition to the improvements we made by providing coaching and training to early educators, we stepped up our leadership role by advocating on behalf of the sector and building bridges to disseminate critical resources and information to providers. To show you one of the ways we're supporting the childcare sector, I'm going to show you a short video clip from Crystal Henry, TFC's Start Young Program Manager.
We've seen a lot more unemployment with our families, and we provide scholarships, supplemental scholarships for some families, and they are sort of based on where they're at employment-wise. And we had many people who were employed, were receiving subsidy prior to the pandemic, and then at some point, became unemployed, and then we were able to step in and support them. We've seen a lot more housing needs. There have been a number of families who became homeless or just had less stability in providing housing for their families. In terms of looking ahead to year 4 for Start Young, I just think it's important to note that the need is there now more than ever. And for our families, their subsidy is slowly increasing, but so are the costs for our providers. And so the math didn't really work in the first place, and now there's even a greater gap. It's interesting because we just put out a teacher survey, and we're learning a lot about what their individual needs are as well. And you're relying on people who are making generally less than $15 an hour, who have their own families to provide for, who don't typically receive benefits, and asking them to care for children whose families are going through a pandemic right now, and so their needs are elevating, and their mental health is being challenged right now, and teachers have so much responsibility and so much that we depend on them for, yet providers aren't able to pay them a livable wage for this really important work. So Start Young has been able to provide salary supplements for teachers as they increase their level of education. And, we just want to continue to support them, to support their educational path and early childhood education.
Yeah, so as I said, 2020 has been a difficult year and a unique year for the childcare sector. If you guys have any questions about the video that you just watched, feel free to add them in the chat. And I'm going to move on to our second strategy, which focuses on empowering families to focus on the future. Parents, as we all know, are a child's first and most important teacher. To put it simply, when parents succeed, children succeed. Under this strategy in 2020, TFC supported more than 4,500 families through a variety of services aimed at improving family functioning and parent teaching skills. This past year brought on many new challenges for the families we serve. Our service delivery model had to adapt to deliver our services remotely while meeting the new challenges that disproportionately impacted many of our clients. One way we've adapted is by providing parent education and training virtually and adapting our curriculum to meet families' new challenges. Our early childhood mental health experts have provided parenting classes on a variety of relevant topics to help parents balance working from home with parenting children who are learning remotely and to manage the added stress. Another example of this work is our on-site parenting education program. In normal times, weekly in-person classes are provided at 2 public housing sites in Wyandotte County. For many of these families, the repercussions of the current public health emergency, coupled with those challenges they were already facing, have created extreme challenges. To share some of the challenges these families have been facing and how TFC has adapted to meet these needs, I'm going to share another short video clip. This one is from Sabrina Boyd, the Healthy Parents, Healthy Kids Parent Education Coordinator.
Healthy Parents, Healthy Kids is a program to support families who are in need. And when you think of the need, there's multiple needs of a family. I have parents that are first-time parents that don't know how you parent a baby. There are those with toddlers who really haven't aspired to the parent and child interaction. Our agency has an initiative, Talk, Read, and Play. So I like to wrap that around the curriculum that I work with, the Incredible Years, because we do need to talk to the babies. Well, you're getting language, you're getting decision-making, you're getting dialogue. You want to play with them. So it doesn't matter where you are. Children learn through playing and reading them. They get vocabulary, they get sentence structure, they get the cognition of words putting together to make sense. And so what we do as a program, we incorporate our initiative along with my curriculum to let parents know children can't be children on their own. They need the parent help, but the parent has to be attuned to, it takes more than having the baby, giving them food and clothing to make them whole. But in COVID, it appears that they're getting anxious because there's so much time that they have to be and deal with the baby. The parents don't have parent time themselves. And so what we do now is to make sure we become a listening ear for them. Sometimes they just need someone to listen to. Oftentimes they'll call, Miss Sabrina, let me tell you what's going on in my household. Not really wanting a resolution, but someone to hear them, while they hear themselves speak. And then when need be, then I'll offer some suggestions from our evidence-based curriculum to guide them through that series. COVID may have shut many people down from being able to operate effectively as they used to, but for our program, it gave us a new eye on how to creatively reach the very population. And Healthy Parents, Healthy Kids was the first place that they reached out to say, hey, Miss Sabrina, our money's gone. We can't go to work. We're in quarantine until we can get cleared up. And we need baby diapers. What do we need to do? Can you help? A lot of times it's not necessarily things, although Healthy Parents, Healthy Kids provide the core needs: diapers, wipes, beds, baby beds for safe sleeping, car seats for safe traveling. But when you get beyond that, it's the softer needs things, the mindfulness piece. How do you overcome this traumatic experience when you can't reach out and touch your neighbors anymore? Or what about when your family's in COVID? I had several families that were in COVID where they could no longer go to work. I have moms that have had babies during COVID that was totally challenged when no one can be at the hospital but you. Well, those were the families that I was able to bring age appropriate play toys for the children, a little bit of food that they would need also. I wasn't for sure how the extended world was taking care of them, but I wanted them to specifically know we are an agency that will not just leave you hanging. We will do our part, and then we can share resources that you can go to. It's just good and reaffirming to know that even though I don't have all the answers, that we are a program that can provide core need and core information for survival.
So if you guys have questions about that, feel free to add them in the chat and we'll get to them shortly here. And I'm going to move along to our final strategy. The final strategy focuses on developing resilience and helping children and families mitigate the effects of psychological trauma, which can have a devastating impact on young children and the adults they rely on. In 2020, TFC provided mental health services to 2,798 children and 1,174 families. One example of this work is the Moving Beyond Depression program, where TFC therapists provide free in-home therapy to mothers experiencing postpartum depression. Like most of our work, this looked a little different in 2020. And to show you how the program adapted and continued to serve families at a time when many of our clients needed us more than ever, I'm going to show you one last video. This is Janie Fayville, TFC's Moving Beyond Depression manager.
Moving Beyond Depression provides in-home cognitive behavioral therapy to moms experiencing depression. We partner with home visiting agencies across the metro area. We have 12 partners currently. We screen moms for depression, and when the mom is interested, she can be referred to us and receive services at no cost. Yeah, so because of COVID, we started providing our services via phone or Zoom in March of 2020 and have done so since. As far as like the outcomes that we've seen from that, we've seen our outcomes be just as good, if not better, as before COVID. Anecdotally, I've had moms say, I'm so glad that we met remotely. I wouldn't have wanted to clean my house every time, which of course I say, like, you definitely don't have to clean your house if I come to you, but it's an added pressure that I understand of having services come into the home. So there's definitely moms that have appreciated that. And so I think we've seen more consistency than we may have otherwise with some families. And also with our outcome measures, in the first 6 months, we saw bigger increases in perceived social support. So that outcome is usually around like 70%. And in that time period, it actually went up to 78%. So that was that was huge, a huge gain. And also we saw decreases in parental stress as well in that same period at a higher rate than we typically do for moms that graduate. So in a time where you're socially isolated, in a time that you were having more parenting stress due to schooling at home and things, our program was still making strides in that area, and the strides were even bigger than we saw pre-COVID.
So that's all that I had. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jocelyn to address some of your questions.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for collecting stories from the field. So again, if you all, as we've shared with all of that with you, if you have questions, please do populate the chat with those. We do have one question so far. What did 2020 teach you that you intend to carry forward? So as we know, we had a lot of pivots. So I'm gonna say Paula is probably best suited to answer this one.
Yeah, I would say that one of the main things that 2020 taught us is how resilient and how much perseverance our staff has, because they didn't let up once in thinking about how they would be able to pivot to really meet the needs of our clients. I think one great example of that is we have always done face-to-face outpatient behavioral health and counseling. And because our work is so relationship-based, it was really kind of scary to think about how would you do that virtually. But I think, as you just heard from Janie's example, I think we were able to really make that work for our clients. And so while we know there may be some of the clients we weren't able to serve during this period of time, we were able to serve a lot of clients, and it really was able to meet their needs. And so I think we'll continue to build off of our successes in 2020 as we move into 2021. Was there any other questions, Jocelyn?
Okay, so what would you say were some of the biggest obstacles in 2020, and kind of in that, how they were overcome?
I would say one of the biggest obstacles was just the uncertainty, especially around funding. We knew that we had in 2020, funders gave us a lot of flexibility with their dollars, but now as we're starting to move into 2021, we're not sure what that's going to look like. We do have commitment from some of our funders, but for other funders, we're still unclear what their funding will look like. And that's why we also don't know what that means for corporate and individual giving. And so as we're looking to the future, we know that we really need the support of individuals and corporate giving to really help us fill gaps when we have funding shortages. Also, that funding is unrestricted. And so it really gives us flexibility so that when things like a pandemic happen, we can pivot and to meet the needs of our clients. And it also helps us in our innovation. With flexible dollars, we have the opportunity to try new projects and do new things that we think will help us meet our mission. So I think as we're looking forward, I think the funding is always the big question mark and where the uncertainty lies. Any other questions? Besides, Sabrina is great. Thank you, Julie. Sabrina is great.
No, I think that covers, kind of what challenges, what other challenges we might be facing in 2021. I believe you really covered that. So I think if the group, if anything else that you all would say, what challenges do still exist? Obviously, we are still amidst a pandemic. If any other additions of what we might be thinking so far in 2021, besides what Paula already shared.
So I know that our staff is very anxious to get back into more face-to-face with our clients. And so we are looking at moving to a new phase in June of 2021. And we'll be spending the next couple of months thinking about making plans for what that will look like, because we know that we need to continue to make sure that our staff and those that we serve are safe and can remain healthy. So Jocelyn, I would say if there's no more, oh, someone's looking forward to Brew for Books. So I think if there's no more questions, why don't we go ahead and you can wrap us up?
And I did not pay that person to say that, but so I am as well. So thank you for that help in that transition. We just overall year long, like Paula said, I mean, it's your generous support that helps us remain nimble. And we hope that today provided a helpful understanding or better deep dive into the impact of your investment. So we were really looking forward to keeping these conversations going. We'll be, of course, following up with we've got a lot of folks who've requested the recording who couldn't make it today. So we are looking forward to this just being a conversation starter and to continue this dialogue. And we want to hear your feedback and your questions as we go along. So I will, again, April 15th is our virtual Brew for Books. We're getting very excited that tickets are on sale, sponsorships are on sale. We're partnered with Martin City Brewing Company this year. We are doing, again, still in a virtual world, but have some fun perks. So check that out on our website. Also, during the month of May, we will be celebrating our 10-year anniversary of the Mother of All Happy Hours. So you heard from Sabrina, that program really helps with those basic needs. For a lot of our programs, it began by supporting the mothers in her program. And so in honor of Mother's Day, we do ask, for donations to support moms, to support their kiddos and their babies. So you can stay in touch with us, make sure you're signed up for our emails and on social media. We will have some opportunities to engage with us in May for the Mother of All Happy Hours. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that you are signed up for our advocacy alerts. So all of this can be found on our website, which is tfckc.org. You'll have Get Involved, you can donate or support Brew for Books. There's also an advocacy alert sign up. So we want to make sure that you're getting those. This is another thing that with your support, we're able to be nimble and stay in tune with the needs of our clients and those we serve, on both the state level in Kansas and Missouri, but also the federal level. So again, just some ways to stay in touch, and you'll be hearing from us more as the days go on.